Hi, hello.
Hello, good evening again.
It's Till Ansgar Baumhauer.
And Denise Ackermann, both at Motorenhalle Art Space in Dresden.
Yes, from Brisa e.V., Kulturforum Dresden. And today we are again here because of a postponed exhibition.
Exactly. So we will discuss one of the chapters of our upcoming exhibition, disCONNECTED. Here today, it's the sixth time that we do that and that we introduce some of the artists to you, just to bridge the gap between the originally planned opening time in April of this year and the real opening, which will probably take place in the end of October.
Right, and the topic today is cultural double identities. So Till, maybe you can first, before we go to the artist, tell us what's about this topic, what is the issue, what is the question for you are interested in that topic.
Of course. Well, the overall topic of the exhibition is on images migrating from one cultural context to the other. Also objects migrating in different ways of perception of images coming from other contexts, and cultural double identities, roughly said, mean for me that in this case artists in themselves try to bridge the gap between two cultures, for example, the culture they come from and the culture they live in, so that they in their works already find solutions between the two cultural positions.
Point of views, maybe.
Of course.
Different experience, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have three artist positions today, and the first is?
The first is Ergul Jengis, who lives in Munich, and she has a background coming originally from Turkey, but with a minority background as well, and she has been working on aesthetic aspects of, on one side, let's call it Islamic architectural pattern aesthetics, ornaments, but blending them with her life and in Europe and European aesthetics.
Yes, and we know all in the world actually the special situation, so Ergul also deal with this, and she deal it in that way, what we will have here in between. But before, I will tell you how small artworks arrived here, because my colleague just sent me on Facebook, Denise, there's a post for you here. And I said, yes, what? Yeah, there's something small, but a lot of small pieces. And I said, yeah, but I didn't order something, what is it? And she said to me, yeah, Denise, but I can't tell you because then the surprise will gone. And I said, okay, a lot of small things, what should it be? And then I open it.
Yeah.
So I will open it now also for you. It become like that, and
I will help you to hold it a little bit.
Yeah, but actually it came not like that, because it came in a lot of different pieces.
Small fragments we take out of the puzzle right now.
So it came really, and on the back side, I don't know if it's possible to see, we got a personal letter.
Yeah, let's
Ergul.
just show it
So
in just a moment.
yeah.
You can get an idea about the letter in its part as it arrived. So it was not Amazon in this time. It was really artwork in a very specific way, and it was related to the fact that when the exhibition had to be postponed due to COVID-19, we asked all the artists to send us something which we could use to bridge the time gap.
Yeah.
And Ergul followed this request in this really beautiful way, also very playful way. I remember that you told me that you really enjoyed.
Yeah, and I make a little film, what we will see maybe in the moment now, how this puzzle, because it came piece by piece, and how I actually made the puzzle finished.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but actually, this is this kind of pattern, and this is why I was also very happy, is the way like Ergul normally works also as an artist, but just a little bit bigger, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, she does paper cut in big size, wonderful works with transformation gestures of traditional so-called Oriental patterns, just mutating and becoming something different, but also with printed works with patterns that she puts together to create really big size installation work.
And I have seen it once from her in Berlin, and it's like in different layers. She also positions the works, but we will have it maybe in another way here.
Yeah, well, that's the paper cuts which you saw. We will have a printed work here in a quite big size of around, I suppose, 20 square meters on one of the big walls. And we're really looking forward to it because in this work she really brings together biographic and everyday culture aspects with the purity, let's call it purity of pattern, which connects all the parts to each other.
Okay. So, and I would say thank you to Ergul.
Yeah,
for your work.
and we are very sorry that we couldn't include her today into the video with the dialogue, but she is in Istanbul at the moment working for an exhibition, so fingers crossed she will have a great exhibition there.
Okay, and let's go, but now to the first call, right?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe let's just introduce the artist who will come now with some sentences. She's called Nayari Castillo, and she comes from Venezuela and lives in Austria right now. I came to know her in Weimar at the Bauhaus University when I did my PhD there, and she as well.
Yes.
And so let's say hello to Naya.
In Austria, right?
Exactly. Okay, so hello Naya, it's great to see you again, and it's great to have you in the exhibition as well. We already did some moderation about the topic of the video today, which is on cultural double identities. Well, admittedly, it's always a little bit crazy to subsume artistic positions with a label, but it helps us a little bit in this situation just to form groups of artistic positions. And well, we already met some years ago at Weimar. At that time, you were working on the migration of animals. What I really found totally fascinating. Now you are working on other topics than at that time, and we would like to ask you to tell us a little bit about
I
your.
lost connection.
Okay, can you hear us?
Hello. Uh-oh. Hello. I lost your connection.
Yes,
I couldn't
we
hear.
we we can hear you. We can hear you, but can you hear us as well?
Yes. So you asked me that before I was working with migration of animals, and at the moment I change or I'm using other topics. and
Exactly.
that's why I lost the connection. So if you can repeat the last part of the question for
Okay.
me to answer.
Yes, well, maybe just from your
Oh,
artistic, from your
well,
artistic,
I just gonna start talking. Can you hear me?
yes, yes.
Hmm.
Can you hear us as well?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us as well?
Yeah, sometimes I lost your connection. So for a long time, I work in post-colonial projects, and these courses were mainly focused on strange or based on how we articulate the otherness in animals. Um, to explain things that we cannot explain or that we can explain behavior. So we usually give attributes to animals that they don't have, or we pretend that they have. So for a long time, it was a very political discourse, working on this idea of migrational behavior. In the discourses of migration from all governments, usually comes this otherness as an enemy discourse. So it's a very right wing oriented discourse. And particularly a project I think you are referring to is Smuggling to Paradise, where I was working with the hippos of a particular case in Latin America where Pablo Escobar, there was a mafia capo of the 80s, had green paradise of animals and, of course, to laundry money. And he collected exotic animals there. And it was very interesting the case because what happened is that when he was killed by police, the animals were killed or left to die, but the hippopotamus just survived because they have no natural enemies there. So it became is a very interesting way of how to treat the information, because it became a case from the very left wing that will say the hippopotamus are ours and they are our people. We love them, till the right wing discourse that was more these enemies need to be combat, they need to be annihilated. And what was very interesting for me at the time is that I was involved in a very German discourse and how Germany involved and introduced themselves in the history of Latin America. And in particularly in that story, there was a lot of this German expert view that was incorporated into the absurdity of the story. This post-colonial German discourse kept, and is part of my work afterwards. So this connects the lines still. And I'm not sure if you are listening to me because it says the
Yes.
connection is lost.
No, it's perfect.
Um, so, did you hear last things I said? Okay.
Everything.
So,
Yeah.
and so this part of the animals as metaphors had disappear a bit in time, but the carefulness with this post-colonial discourse is kept. So and it's because the word change um in a way that the political discourse stays there in somehow this relation between fiction and reality. At the time, the metaphors were used so that the absurdity of the story was the reality, and what the reality was so fantastic that people wouldn't believe it. And I just completed the story with things that were uh, normal, and what was fiction was the normality. And this fiction reality used political influence that is still remaining. Mostly in the last times, it has become more personal stories. So a lot of the information is not anymore using others, but it has to do with a personal, accumulation of life stories, I would say.
You sent us a photograph of an artwork of yours, which is called Exile Hospital. And we will also implement the photograph in this video so that people can see it. Would you like to say something about that work to explain its
Yeah.
meaning?
Yeah, this work is a very personal story. It's about layers and how when you come part of another society, you have a period that you are not understanding what is happening. This period of silence is very necessary. You are very humble because you need to understand. Well, maybe you are not always, but a lot of uh, as this is my my history. I was slow and maybe um, toned down in my personality for a long time till I was able to understand what was happening in the surroundings. And this work is particularly of this transformation of these layers that need to happen, this silence and this breakage and this in between that you have all the time. So, Hospital of Exile is a is a piece that talks about these layers, and it's a very bodily piece. I mean, it takes talks about healing and body layers and how you have like it's a node, so to speak, to the healing process that is also to become part of something. So because after a migration process, you are not anymore from the other part, and but you are never completely part of what you are or the place you are. So you are always like a chimeric situation. You are in the in between. So this piece is about the skin that you generate. I mean, how to cover, how to protect, how to get soft the skin. So it's basically a very intimate poem that is in golden letters on the wall, and there's a container for body liquids that is a old supply for um, water and what you have in the hospitals, and what is coming out of this old container is honey, and this very thick golden liquid is so, or like almost liquid because it's a very heavy substance, is somehow covering the layers of the poem and at the same time going through the layers of the body that transform itself during the migration process. Oh well, that's why I try to evoke with the piece. Is a very intimate piece. I mean, it's a very um, for a long time the stories I talk about were not mine, or I was not brave enough to use text as the main container or device to be put it in the work. I mean, it will be part of together with objects and other media. But for a while, since a while, I would say in the 10 last years, text has become the media. So it's a very strong connected uh, work with text So text is another element. So you have the honey, you have this base or system that is allowing the honey to come through, and you have the text that is delivering all this change or transmutation that is part of being um in migration. And particularly my migration has to do with exile, because I cannot return to the country where I was from or I am from, because Venezuela is in a very difficult political situation, and it has not changed and will not change. So a lot of the poem is also about these impossibilities of not going back to that land, or anyway, if I go back, there's not going to be the same land I left. So it's a lot about these transformations and these processes that happen. That is, I don't know if it's something like a condition that you acquire. You are from the in between. You are in between.
But one question, when you speak about the in-between position, maybe you get like another point of view. Maybe then you, even when you look, I say it now, back, that you understand or see things in a different way, so that you have also the feeling that it helps to discover something new, what you only get because of this transformation process. And I actually like the image of the honey, because it's not liquid and going fast. It takes drop by drop or something like that. And is there something that
Yeah, I mean,
Please.
I sorry, I have the feeling this what you say is really true. I mean, when you are in the in between, you have, I mean, to be far away makes you closer, so you learn things from there or from your identity that are not were not clear before. On the other hand, you open yourself to new ways of doing things. So being in the in between means that you generate other type of cultural identity, so that is permeable and is like it transforms itself. It's no For the first time I could say I'm not just Venezuela. I am Venezuela, Latin American, American, Ibero-American, European. So you change, you transform these views that are close somehow and expand them into a more broader perspective. So of course you start understanding what is the new culture, and it's very interesting for me because I went to Germany, and of course in the process of learning the language you learn another other things. And by transitioning to England first and then to Austria, that Austria in this case is the also a German speaking country, but it has a completely other cultural background. And more in where I am, that is Graz, is very in the south, and it's 30 minutes from Slovenia. So the south of Europe becomes a very big part of this new imaginary. So I think this in between also enrich yourself a lot, in the sense that you become very open to these other ways of seeing, and also understand other migrational processes that are around you, like because it's to be in the border is always very interesting to see how how things migrate, and or the experiences you become. I hope you are recording still. This sometimes
Yeah.
break. For example, I went to Bosnia and Herzegovina when I was arriving here, and I realized it was in Sarajevo. I was doing a project there, and I realized that a lot of the things I was eating were very similar to when I was little in Venezuela. And it's because a population of Jewish went to Venezuela were very similar. And inclusive they spoke old Spanish, like, it's called Ladino language. So the flavors of this childhood were coming back into a completely other culture across the world. So these things happen to you when you are from the in between. You start realizing that there is no one identity, but we are very mixed.
Wow, that's really fascinating, and it opens up totally new aspects, and it will be big fun to discuss these things with you when you are here. Uh, we are almost out of time because we will have another interview later. But one last question. What I was asking myself is the poem of Exile Hospital. Did you write it in German or did you write it in Spanish and translate it afterwards? Where are you with your language right now?
It's very interesting because the original was written in French, and because it was the first occasion I used this poem was for a French environment. So it was written in French, was translated to Spanish and corrected in Spanish, and then translated into German.
Okay.
And corrected in German. So it has several transitions
Okay.
to different languages, and I think in each of them has a very particular resonance. So I
Okay,
think they
great.
are now all languages that belong to me.
Okay, perfect. Naya, thank you so much. And let's continue our discussion soon. Um, in fact, we really have to leave the discussion now and say thanks a lot once more. See you soon and good luck until
Thank
then.
you.
Naya?
Okay.
Okay, Nayari, thank you so much for all these important informations on your work. And we are really looking forward to having you here in October because you're one of the traveling artists which plan to be here with us for the opening. Of course, that's great. So see you soon and good luck. Until then, we are looking forward to meeting you. Bye.
Ciao. Yeah, so let's call to another part in the world directly after the nice interview with Nayari. We are going
to Vietnam, to Hanoi, and our next dialogue partner will be Tran Wong, who is an amazing performance artist, also doing video work and even painting. And I was lucky to meet him when I was in Vietnam last year and to have some opportunities to talk to him. And he's really such a strong artistic position that we are really happy to have him in the exhibition as well.
Let's
So
start the call.
let's call Luong. Okay, thank you so much. So, welcome, Luong, to our discussion tonight and to this video. It's great to have you here. It was
Finally, thank you.
Yes, it's perfect. So, well, we already discussed with another artist before and showed an artwork of a third artist. You
Okay.
will be our last guest today, and well, there are different points to approach the topic tonight because we invited you with a video work, Sleeping in the. Oh, can you tell me the title? I'm sorry.
Yeah, actually, sleepy in the analog era. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But I use another word just for the pandemic of COVID-19. Yeah.
Okay, yes, this will be part of the show, and we usually in our videos we don't show works included in the show, just for people curious. But maybe just tell us some sentences about the work, because this is exactly an important point in our discussion about cultural double identities, or however. Because you approach it from a very different viewpoint, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the video is like a fragmental, emotionally video I took by myself from very different time, different location. Went through like last 25 years. Some is quite early. That's why it's related to analog time. Because at that moment, I shooting by 3 CCD small camera with a quite low resolution since end of 90s. The location in the video when I took it is not targeting to any idea, just like a blank time, blank moment. When I sitting in the car, heavy rain outside, or I sitting the subway in New York City in very sleepy late night time, and somewhere in Argentina from Buenos Aires in very lonely in the quietly hotel, train hotel, Spanish time, the Spanish style, and that kind of different moment of my life, which I feel is very trained. I feel very trained, like I lose my confidence. Where am I, and what moment of the world, and I feel no distance, between myself and to the past or to the future. So I feel that the world itself is a really mystic. And as we are an artist, we feel it's very amazingly that we are exploring world. Even I fly more, I not see the planet as a orange, like a business person. But if I know the planet, I know the world is more. I feel the world is bigger, and it's make me more curious about that. So this kind of specific moment in the video is very important. Kind of slow down or a specific nowhere land moment in my life. Yeah, like that.
That's really fascinating, because it opens up the question of what is identity, what is, in that case, not national identity, but the identity of the traveling person being somewhere in the midst between everything, so to say.
And you know that. I adding more a bit about this sense, very strange sense for my mind in that specific moment. That you know that Vietnamese, after huge chaotic and suffering history in 100 years, a lot of us, run away and move, living all around the world. And whenever I have a chance, I met somewhere, like especially in Buenos Aires, I met only one family who never considering to be in Argentina, but they escaped Vietnam by boat during 1979 because the big conflict at that moment. And the ship from Argentina picked them up and bring them to Argentina.
Wow.
And they disconnect with country for 30 years. And after 30 years, only the daughter who can be back to Vietnam. And the doctor, the father, when he heard we have an exhibition in St. Martin Center, Culture Center in Buenos Aires, he came and he asked me and my partner come to his home and stay at his home. He never talked with us, but he just have a requirement to hear our voice. when we speak Vietnamese. So few other family living in border of Colombia and Argentina to smuggling drug. That only officially good family as a doctor. Only one stay in Buenos Aires. So everywhere we see Vietnamese how now they living all around the world, and they even much more than me, that where the identity, where the meaning of homeland, and where meaning of character for the second generation or the third generation. Yeah.
Wow, that's really fascinating. I think Denise had another question for you.
Yeah, but it changed a little bit the topic.
It changes the topic, but
because
that's not a problem.
I read something about you, and what I find really interesting, it's you're part of the performing art group in Vietnam, the Gang of Five. I read about it, and that you're dealing with a socialistic government in a way that you use performance as a very time or size specific short intervention, maybe that you, yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit, because there's a link to a group here in Dresden before 1989, and I found it very interesting that there is a connection to deal with political issues around.
Yeah, I have to recorrect that. Gang of Five is my earlier group. Yeah, very early when we are a student, and then we just graduated from the school. Gang of Five member all painter, and the artwork almost modern art painting. I turned to keep doing contemporary art since mid 1995. That I going to be break up with Gang of Five, and I build another community more radical and more contemporary, language, because very strongly reason, a political reason, because if we keep producing object art as a painting or sculpture, we cannot survive with the very real dictatorial regime, and when they checking everything, and then censorship is a big issue for us. So contemporary art form for me at that moment is the first choice to be escape from that situation. With performance art turned to be so important because they breaking the YQ and gallery and museum were breaking, everything to run to the ground level, and no one can control. Police can not follow you, and you don't need any academy material to showing you are an artist. You can be like a worker, can be anyone, and suddenly you turn the concept, and the sign can be everywhere. So the sign suddenly you can turn to be outside, and then alternative side, and then disappear, and even no incident. You perform and then you disappear. So at that moment, digitally, even analog video, photograph, performance, conceptual text, everything turned to be so valuable for us to breaking through the censorship war. Yeah.
And this is also one of the image that we will show in the video now is taken from a performance work that you did with toothbrushes and with lots of participants. So maybe this is the point where we have, due to the timeline, have to end with a dialogue,
Okay.
but maybe you can explain in some sentences about that last work, because I find it really fascinating.
Yeah, that one really big, huge problematic for the neighborhood country in Southeast Asia, and also globally issue, because Khmer rules. Khmer, if you know, killing few. The time of Cambodia have a troop who following Beijing, following China, who killed 3 million Khmer people from 1975 to 1978. And then Vietnam also just escaped from the war with America. So normally Americans say that they rescue every weakness, community who got trouble. But in that case, they cannot interfere to enemy of enemy, because they just lose in Vietnam. and they just let Khmer Rouge keep killing people. And Vietnam government and us in very hard time at that moment. And Vietnamese troops have to occupy Cambodia in 1979. So since then, my generation, who at that moment as a young man, so a lot of us involved in the war, Khmer, Vietnam Khmer fighting, and many of my friends who died in that war. So latterly, I tried to digging and talking with Khmer people to capturing memory about Khmer Rouge time and also Vietnamese military occupy Cambodia, because it's like a mystic place and dark place. No one want to dig it up. And for both government, they also hide it away. They don't want to show people because dirty story. But I tried many times and I went there many times, but it seems so unsuccessful because Khmer people, when they heard I'm Vietnamese, they don't want to talk with me. They look to me from the eye very friendly to be like a hater. So the performance is kind of metaphor to change way of talk by mouth, talk by language, change it to be action. So cleaning this make people close to each other. After they clean their own teeth, they feel that no boundary between people and they start more friendly. So during my performance, people, my assistant and my group start to talk with them about the memory of the war. So I capturing many video when they grouping and they just talk. You know, the performance finally around more than 230 people involved in like a 6 hour in Phnom Penh. Yeah. So I've been edit as a video art, but actually like a documentary of my public performance, and it tells a lot about how really the barrier between two country and honestly to talk about history. Yeah. That's the functioning of the performance. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for just pressing this lot of information into such a few sentences. It's impressive, and we are definitely looking forward a lot to hopefully
Yeah.
having you here. We will
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah. I
if
look
you
forward to be there much better than we connect like this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So have a nice rest of the evening. It's already quite late in Vietnam. And thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us. And see you soon, hopefully.
Yes, see you soon. And good night to you.
Thanks a lot. Thank both of you. I stay very up late, so no problem.
Okay.
Hope see you in
So,
Dresden. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
see you
Yeah.
soon. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Dear Lung, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we are even hoping to have you here as well in October. Nobody knows how the situation will change and develop due to COVID-19, but fingers crossed once more that you will be here and will give us much more insight into your artwork and into the context of Vietnamese contemporary fine arts.
Yes. Ciao. See you. Hopefully soon.
Bye. Yes.
So, till this was not the last time online with you and me.
Exactly.
We have a final one, and with what or with whom we will maybe talk, which works we will see, and what is the topic.
Exactly. Well, we could almost get used to doing that, right? To produce another series of videos on these works. Well, the last topic we have in the exhibition and also in the video stream is the question of the view towards the foreign and the construction of difference, of cultural difference. And we have 4 artists in that last video which also have really amazing, sometimes a little bit crazy positions as well. And it's Jan Brockhoff from Berlin, Heike Lydia Grüß from Ludwigsburg near Stuttgart. And then we have Valmor Correa from Brazil. And last not least,
From Paris.
Malala Andriala Vidrazana. So just join us for the next time as well. It will be online after 3 weeks from now.
Yes.
Have a nice evening. See you. Bye from the Motorenhalle. Bye.